How's it going, guys? It's Hightower,
Poltergeist,
Whip, and this is our AAR video of Stag Op Spring Offensive 7. So on May 30th and 31st, Stag Ops have put on their 7th iteration of their Spring Offensive game, which runs in conjunction with their Autumn Justice game. Great part about these games is not only are they points-based, but there's a big storyline behind it. The guy who runs it is really, hell-bent on following the story or developing the story. Everything we do in the Spring Offensive game affects the Autumn Justice part of the game, which happens later on in the year. I'd say probably around...
I think it's November sometime.
Yeah, like end of November.
October, November timeframe, yeah. But as the story goes and progresses, the players really help develop where the story's going to go, so it adds this in-depth, organic, growing feel to the game.
It's not so much a one side wins or one side loses, it's about how each side creates the story to bring on to the next development of the story or the game that comes up in the following for the Autumn Justice. So
that being said, there's point objectives to go for as well. So you do have that scoring aspect where you can feel like you've lost the story and win by points, and so when you see the point scores, you're like, all right, I won. Or vice versa, if you get destroyed in terms of points, but you feel like you made a big difference in the story, you still walk away feeling victorious, which is a great thing this game offers that you don't normally see in a lot of games.
And I've noticed at least Stag Ops has evolved the game from, it used to be just faction on faction, to now it's, you've got your tan side, you've got your green side, you've got the locals we have to actually personally deal with, which affects the story. And they've even brought in, vehicles to kind of help. It's either a tan vehicle or green vehicle, or maybe it's a neither, and we've got to kind of go against both of that. I mean, the game's held at UBG Airsoft over in Bourne, Massachusetts. It's right over the Bourne Bridge if you've never been there. Yeah, one kudos to the field is it's got a little bit of everything. There's a CQB field, their village, right outside the village. The more you travel into the terrain, the more dense it gets, the harder it gets to move.
Yeah. They have structures not just in the village, there's structures out in the field, so major objective points or locations you have to hold. There are buildings there, so it's not just, okay, hold this circle of trees, whoop-de-doo. You have a spot where you can actually fortify and take cover, and there's forts out in the woods.
I don't know if you guys felt this way, but the field being so big, and we'll probably pan to a map soon, but the field being so big, I felt we were still able to kind of walk from our CP to an objective, in a decent amount of time. You're not spending too much time walking or too much time humping it back to your
everything's
CP.
within a good distance to where you're not drained when you get to the objective. Yeah. It's, you're still ready for the fight. You can, get, retconned and get back to your CP.
So in previous games when you pulled up to UBG, you used to be able to park wherever you wanted. It was pretty much a first come, first serve. So if green rolled in deep, rolled in heavy, you got the park right there, right where you're going to be camping. Now with the new rules in place, they kind of try to keep the guys parking sort of near their CP to make it easy to unload and pack back up. I think it's a good idea, but at least I feel if I'm willing to get there first, I should be able to park right at camping.
It keeps the teams integrated to that group. Kind of builds more strength because that's what you're interacting with other players you haven't interacted before. So keeps the squads together. That's what this whole thing is about, is building squad tactics and building the squads as a whole. That's why.
I mean, I get the whole team unity, and I understand the wanting to divide it up so that green's all together and you get that community base. But Albie and I rolled in there at 2:30, and we got a nice spot parked, set our stuff up. We had primo parking, and then the parking guys are coming around like, oh, you green's on the far side, and had to go move our car. It's just there's no reward for showing up early to try. I mean, we got a good 10 spot, which was fantastic, but parking wise, we just got green got bumped to the back of the bus in terms of parking.
I mean, so for you at home, the way I'm going to make a map with my hands, let's say this is our camping area. Right here would be where tan kind of parks, and then green is off. Poltergeist in the show, road off to the side. Every year this game's been held at UBG, green has always been at the same CP. Why not flip the CPs? That way maybe one year we're on one side, when your tan's on the other side. That way, it's kind of equal parking amongst, and we get a different look when attacking the field. It'd be nice if mix it up a little bit. Maybe we start where tan started, or maybe we even flip it all up and wherever the game left off at, we start there. If we had that main city, we start there. Or if we didn't, tan's got the city. We have to start on the outskirts inside the actual gameplay, rather than your typical.
Everyone starts in the CP, and then you all just it's a mad rush out there to get that going.
Yeah. Going from parking right to the camping side, camping has gone from a few tents to the whole campsite's filled with tents now.
It's tents to tents on top of each other. You got tent lines going underneath other tents to just try and hold the flies up. It's wall to wall.
And the tents are separated too. There's the tan side, there's the green side. There's kind of like this imaginary line that we don't cross our tents. But of course, you get some of the green guys.
No, it's pretty privacy with these tents, they're gonna be uptight.
Yeah, it's grown, and if Stag Ops keeps it the way it's going, I think there's gonna be more people camping. I mean, it's fun too because you get a little more camaraderie when you camp. If you go to the hotels right outside the cul-de-sac, right there off the Bourne Bridge, you don't get that. You get to just stay with your team inside their hotel room. They deal with each other. Camping,
Camping in the field is fun, and sometimes they'll put up a bonfire, and then they have a little sand area where the formation starts. But that's way to talk to everybody not on a playing aspect, but just on a personal aspect. So it's kind of cool.
My only complaint about the camping, and I mean I like camping and I like the camaraderie, is just every so often you'll get folks that don't want to go to sleep, and so when you're trying to sleep at midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., they're having a heart-to-heart because how everything is so close. You got folks talking, and that's more of a players being polite to other players stance than anything.
As you arrive to the Stag Ops game, you're going to be, in the morning, it's going to be doing the registration and formation and chrono after that.
I think registration's gotten better. Before it used to be a really long line.
Yeah, last year was a really, really long line.
Yeah, I went right from
this year that they separated from cash and credit. That
was
nice. Helped out. Yeah, because I had cash. Cash was faster.
Cash line was whizzing by.
Right. But the only other thing about the chrono, chrono should be take place at any really time that you get to the field, which is kind of a bummer this time that you couldn't chrono when you got to the field as they did previously.
Yeah, it'd be nice if when you got there, someone at the chrono station, maybe waiting. I mean, if I got to chrono my 3 guns before everyone else had to do their stuff, that would go by so much quicker.
Yep.
You have to wait in line for everybody, 400 plus players.
Yeah.
At chrono before formation starts.
My only complaint about Chrono was just that there was no marker or tag put on the gun itself that was chronoed.
That's true.
It was marked down on the wristband that you'd pay to get in with.
It was just pass or fail, right, for the chrono?
Yeah, it was pass or fail.
Yeah.
Which, I chronoed everything I had, but it, in theory, wouldn't stop anybody from chronoing one gun and then grabbing another one out of their car to play with.
Yeah.
It is what it is, though.
So before the game actually kicks off, we have formation, which is pretty much right behind where we camp. Formation is where Mil4, the side we play for, which is the green side, and Co4 kind of get together, divided, and in that formation they're supposed to go through like safety regulations. Full CLI Pro, red rag, red light. Am I missing anything else?
Well, this time they had actually the ID card.
You had to fill an ID card out before the game started, just in case anything were to happen and let's say you fainted. It's got all your pertinent information, who to contact, their number, location.
They're all supposed to go through and count mags so that you only have 1 high cap or a total of, I believe it's 12, 10?
Yeah,
10 mid caps. But the goal of formation is to make sure everyone has the minimum safety equipment needed to play the game and is not exceeding anything in terms of
gear-wise.
Gear-wise.
They're supposed to have a ref or someone come up and down your platoon's line and check. Unfortunately, I didn't have anyone come to me at all. I mean, I was kind of sitting around, putzing. I mean, I listened to Cobalt, the guy who puts on the event, kind of talk and give the big hoorah speech, but not once did someone ask me for my red rag, my light, and no one checked my mags. Granted, I read all the rules. I've been playing this game for a couple of years now, so I already go with my base loadout, which
The only thing they really strongly enforced was the red rag. Make sure everybody had a red rag, on their person. The mag situation wasn't really over. It was pretty much overlooked at this time. Before.
Yeah, I remember last year that they were coming up and down, and because I had a bunch of mags in M4 double stack patch with the Velcro, and they had me actually taking the mags out to make sure that I didn't have high caps stuck in hidden. It was very lax this year.
Yeah, a little more lax than usual. I don't know what the reason was. Maybe there's just so much going on. And the game usually starts, a 10-11 is formation typically. This year was different.
It started at 1 o'clock. Formation started, there's that, muster up was around 11 o'clock. And for some reason they got done early, but kept us in the sun for an extended period of time, which kind of dragged it out. And then we had another half hour after formation to kind of like get our gear ready, eat some food, and be on the field by 1 o'clock for game start. But yeah, I would look forward to maybe having them try to push the formation a little bit earlier so that we can get a little bit earlier start in the game. At 1 o'clock is kind of a mid-afternoon crunch when everybody's eating food and
trying to get
And the reason for the late start was typically we start earlier. We have two breaks, and then there's a night game. We started later, rolled right through up until right after sundown. We played pretty late in the day.
Yeah.
Milford pretty much owned the CQB area, so right when the game horn went off, we were able to access it right off the rip, no issues at all.
The only issue with this is we owned the entire CQB field. The green team we had it. So Tan completely avoided it. There was occasionally they would try and push in from the edges, but because we had guys stationed there the entire game, we didn't really get any CQB engagements. It was a lot of Tan trying to sneak in from the side and us just already having everything locked down and fortified.
Well, there's some squads tied up with security at the CQB village area, which maybe left objectives open for Code 4 to take over. Well, those squads were tied up taking security in the village.
I guess the good part with having the CQB field too is we were able to have the vehicles access right away. As soon as the horn went off, our trucks went out, we went to the CQB portion of the field, and now we get into the issue of the trucks.
Vehicles are good. They gave us support to bog down Code 4 at the time. That way we could advance and move to our objectives. But
they definitely leave something to be desired in terms of the rule standpoint. There's a disconnect where hitting a tank with a foam rocket is a great, in theory, concept, but not every squad, not every player has the ability to take out a vehicle. I get you don't want everyone to be able to just take a vehicle out as soon as possible.
Also, there's no really direction for the vehicle itself. It's basically up to the driver to where he actually wants to go. There's no real script.
The foam rocket deal, I'm not a big fan of vehicles in general. I think Airsoft should just be, a story with two factions maybe fight, or 3 or 4 factions fighting over something. I think the vehicles are damn near invincible.
It is better than having fake artillery called in, for a location, but it gives those both sides a fighting artillery piece.
But because of the tanks, I now have to go out and buy something that can shoot this little foam Nerf ball at this tank. There's nothing I can put on the ground. It'd be nice if they had you could put a landmine. Okay, it takes a tank out, or use the tank
to other ways to take out a vehicle. The last previous, the Autumn Justice that followed this story, they brought in the Lars system, I guess it was, where it had a laser that could disable the vehicle or notify the driver that the vehicle was hit and disable it. But that kind of failed, I guess, in terms of reliability.
Yeah, it had technical issues.
Right. So now it's for the Autumn Justice, a Spring Offensive 7. It was kind of left up to our own device to provide our own means of launching a rocket that would take out, the vehicle, which is either a good thing or a bad thing because not everything is reliable in airsoft. So
my issue is why just a rocket? Poltergeist admitted himself during the game that he was close enough to run up and tag the side of the vehicle. let's say he tags it with something that can disable it. Why just a rocket?
Yeah,
That's my issue.
A C4 kill or a sticky bomb style kill where I've gone up and I've tagged the vehicle's down.
Vehicle is magnetic. You bring up a good point that if it's magnetic, you might be able to stick some sort of red magnet or piece of red magnetic tape that would indicate that was hit.
Or like you said before, literally maybe about 100 yards outside of our CP, there was a Code 4 vehicle just circling around one little area. Maybe the vehicle should be used to go from point A to point B back to point A. That way it's less about the vehicle and more about the people playing and not just, engaging that one vehicle that can run a murder train on squads.
Well, I think they should develop the vehicles into a more strategic aspect of the game, whereas we can call it in for an artillery hit on a location that they can access.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which would be more useful for the sorts of more when in transit. They're not actually going to be engaging any teams, but only when they hit like 100 feet or a distance within that target area that you call for artillery.
See, I would think the vehicles, if they were to be solely transport, but they can fire on the transport. So you have the vehicles and you got a squad in there and the squad's going over to this location, that's the mission. That vehicle can provide support the entire route to that, drops the troops off, and then that vehicle is disengaged until it gets back to spawn.
That's another idea too that would help, utilize the vehicles more.
And that way you can maybe use vehicles to get you to an objective a little better. I like that idea.
My only final thing, and this is just on disabling the vehicles, is some kind of hit rule with the gunners. I understand you don't want the drivers getting shot because you don't want the drivers, getting hit, jerking, or actually hitting someone. But having an invincible saw gunner up top who's just hosing down everything, it's
with only one type of kill rule that's available, it's kind of limits teams or squads to either avoiding it or...
Which we did a lot.
Right.
A lot of times we see the vehicle like, oh crap, and everyone just dives behind a bush and just lies there and waits for the vehicle to drive by, and then we go about our business.
Or some sort of target block that will signal that it was hit in an appropriate spot to disable the vehicle. That way average AEGs could be used.
And just so you guys know, I think the vehicles are probably new within the past 2 iterations, maybe 1 iteration of the spring offensive. So it's still pretty new. I think it can be worked on a lot more. Some people like it. Me personally, I can do without the vehicles. I know we got guys that are.
Yeah, you find it as a distraction.
I like them. I think they add something. We need to work on the kill rules. Maybe some kind of balloon system where you tie balloons to the 4 sides of the vehicle, and to disable it, you got to pop all 4 balloons.
That's a good idea too. Something simple.
Yeah, and I mean balloons are easy to blow up. I mean they're easy to fill. They're easy to pop. And you put them in areas. You pop all the balloons. Maybe you get one person that's got an eye out to it. So that's not a bad idea. I mean, I've got to see it in practice before I kind of agree on that. But
I've never seen it in practice. It's just something I thought of.
In theory, it makes more sense in the fact that vehicles are invincible unless you shoot a rocket-fired Nerf ball at it. I mean, vehicles probably my biggest anti-sticking point. I'm not completely sold on them yet, but I just want to see more done with them other than just them being the invincible force.
I think they have a lot to add, but I agree that there's something that needs to be done with the rules on how to deal with them and handle them in the field.
I mean, the plus side too is vehicles can only go wherever there's a track for them, so maybe we just maneuver better. I don't know, but something.
We'll develop on that in the future, I guess, with Stag.
Yeah. So besides the vehicle issues, I think the overall game itself was actually a really good game. The service was so well written by Cobalt and his Stag Ops crew that there wasn't, at least Direwolf, we didn't feel there wasn't much of a lull in action. We weren't given too many missions, but wherever we went, we were met with some kind of Code 4 opposition. And shootouts are always fun, no matter what kind of airsoft game you play.
It is shootouts and taking out trying to maneuver as a squad and trying to take our objectives. It's fun. It was always fun.
Yeah, I mean people were moving everywhere. You'd be going to an objective and green was on one side, and all of a sudden you see people moving to your right. You got to figure out who it is, and that's all from squads being given orders of where to go and the master plan.
Firefights are always, as long as they take, they're good, they're strong. I mean, you got to do what you can to whatever you do the best you can to overtake the other side.
Yeah, because the field is kind of in a circular manner, you could be defending one end, and if no one's watching your six, you're gonna get shot. So you're always almost on edge of like,
You're high
okay,
strong the entire time.
yeah, it's fun. It's a great game, and playing for Kurtap and defending Kurtapolis is fun. It's kind of cool that we're playing a game and we actually get to fight and defend with the guy that gives us these patches. He's playing with us. He's not just kind of a figurehead speaking. He's shooting and he's in the dirt
Not
with
just
us.
a general, but the general.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you a reason to fight for because it's not just it's some big name. It's this guy's actually on the field with you. You know, you interact with him in the off season. We're fighting for under the command of Kurtap, this guy who's just a regular guy like you or me. You can go have a conversation with him. He's
The story builds
great.
with doing what he tells you to do.
Yeah.
Completing with his objectives, and
And the great part too is Kurtap kind of came to prominence through the storyline. So that's not to say someone from another team, maybe someone we know closer, could come into prominence and continue to run. You know,
other characters
his
can
arc.
be written into the storyline.
Exactly, and that's the cool thing about it. We're playing for this storyline, and at Stag Ops, I think you guys do a great job at keeping this game going and keeping the storyline going as well.
Yep, they really do, and it's a good story. You don't always know everything's going on, but you get the write up afterwards of this is what was going on. You're like, oh wow, well I was doing that. All this other objectives were going on, and you know,
You hear the stories later on, what teams accomplished, and like how later on how now the story is going to be written this way. And you're like, oh wow, maybe we can do something next time that's different or participate. Get that extra objective to change the story a little bit better or worse.
All right, guys. So with that being said, this is our video AAR. Got Hightower,
Poltergeist.
Wit,
signing off. Hope you guys like it. Share it.
Spring Offensive 7.
Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all the social media apps.
YouTube. You name it,
So-
we're on there.